So a few people haven't introduced themselves, which are the people who are going to do the Interfaith Seder. So first of all, we have Yehuda Stolov, who is the CEO of the Interfaith Encounter Association. He's going to give a very brief introduction of what we do.
Very brief, very brief. The Interfaith Encounter Association, for those of you who don't know, work to build bridges between communities through ongoing groups that bring together on a regular basis people from different religions who live near each other. And this time, we actually repeat something Hanna hosted last year for one group. So in a way, it's a special thing that now so many people from around the world can join. On the other hand, you know, we are all struggling with this pandemic that keeps us all at home. So in times that are for symbolize freedom, like, you know, Pesach is the story of freedom, the establishment of freedom throughout humanity. We are all locked at home, but we can exercise our inner freedom with the help of Hanna and Father Russ and Fatima. Thank you very much for joining us.
Okay, so I just realized I haven't introduced myself either. I'm Carolina, the Community Director of the Interfaith Encounter. And today what we're going to do is a model Seder, which means that our host, Hanna Yafe, who is going to introduce herself very soon, is going to lead us through the different elements and the different steps of the Seder. And we're going to see it visually, and she's going to explain a little bit about the different elements. We also have two very special guests who are going to speak also to give an interfaith perspective of the celebration, who is Father Russell McDougall, who's here, and Fatima. And they both, can you just, each of you, introduce yourselves briefly? Fatima first, and then Father Russell.
Well, hi everyone, Assalamu alaikum. My name is Fatima Amr, and I'm a student at Bar-Ilan University. I'm from Kfar Qasim, which is in the center of Israel, and I guess I'll be talking today.
Nice. Father Russell, do you want to unmute yourself just to say hi to everyone?
Hi everybody, I'm Russ McDougall. I'm a Roman Catholic priest and am the director at the Tantur Ecumenical Institute in Jerusalem. It's nice to be with you all.
Thank you, Father Russell. So I think, Hanna, we're in your hands right now. If you can please introduce yourself, and then we can get going.
So, hi everyone, and welcome to this Interfaith Seder. The word Seder night, the word Seder means order, and we have an order which can take anywhere up to 8 hours to complete. So we're going to do a very abbreviated Seder. And the first thing on the list, here is the list. See, over here, all these things what to be done. The first thing on the list is to sanctify the day, which is done in Jewish custom over wine or grape juice. So I invite everyone, if you would like to. I'm sorry that it's virtual, but we have grape juice for those who do not drink wine, and we have red wine or white wine. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sing the blessing in the traditional with the traditional melody, because we have a special melody for the blessings on the night of Pesach, of Passover. It's different to the melody of Friday night, for example. So I will make the blessing and drink some wine, because we have, it is our tradition that once we make the blessing, we enjoy of the food that we blessed. So really I should stand up, but then you won't, the camera will go, you know, so I'll just stay seated. But here it is. And whoever wants to say amen afterwards is more than welcome to. I'm just going to do part of it, just to not take too long over any one thing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Amen. L'chaim.
L'chaim. L'chaim.
So there's a whole list of things that we do. This year was very different than other years because in general people make the Seder night with their families or with friends, and here we are in isolation and lockdown. But somebody did point out that in the Bible it says that you should do the Paschal Lamb offering with your very small nuclear family. So in a way, these macro Corona Seders were possibly more authentic than what is customary in the world today. Following on from that, I want to show you the matzah. And for any of you who don't have it, you're welcome to share my matzah. And we have 3 pieces of matzah on the table on the Seder night, rather than the usual 2 from Shabbat. These are hand-baked matzot. They're made of wheat, and you can also get spelt and oat as well, if for various, you know, needs. And I'm not going to do this, but normally speaking, we would wash our hands for a ritual washing and break the matzah and eat it. But I'm going to pass on that. You'll have to forgive me, but matzah doesn't totally agree with me. Wine actually agrees with me much more than matzah does.
Yeah.
However, it's the bread of affliction. It's called the bread of affliction in the Bible. The truth is it can taste really yummy, so I don't know how much affliction is involved. It is flat, as you can see, it is flat, and it is flattened. And it reminds me this year that we're trying to flatten the curve of this virus, and we eat flattened bread. But as far as the bread of affliction goes, this year it wasn't so difficult to relate to it on a deeper level, because everyone almost has experienced some sort of affliction, whether it be in their jobs and economically, or in illness, God forbid, or not seeing their families, or being on their own. We all have experienced something. And so when we sat down, just my husband and I, to celebrate the Seder, it wasn't a difficult jump to feel certain affliction and to join with the affliction of so many millions of people in the world today. Now, I don't know if I can show you this. This is the Seder plate. Right, now the thing is, it's not so, I can't tilt it because you see there's all little plates on a big plate. This actually belonged to my parents. It's sort of an authentic English style of Seder plate from the 1960s. So on the Seder plate, we have a bone, which is from a piece of lamb, which reminds us of the Paschal offering, of course. That's not going to get eaten. And we have salt water that, for whatever reason we have salt water, there's many possibilities. The modern one is that it reminds us of the tears of the children of Israel who were slaves. But apparently salt water was used to dip vegetables into in the time of when the Haggadah was written, and before that. So that was the norm. And we have charoset, which is a mixture of apples, wine, and walnuts. At least that's one recipe. That's the recipe I use with cinnamon. Other people have different, other communities have different recipes. And we have the egg. Now the egg sits on the Seder plate. You can see it's got a picture of an egg on there. The Hebrew is upside, because it's a mirror. But the egg, why do we have an egg? Possibly because it's a Jewish custom to eat an egg when we are mourning for the death of a person. And here we are, to a certain small degree, we are mourning that we don't have a temple anymore to sacrifice the Paschal lamb to. Now, on the subject of the egg, I know that Father Russ is going to talk a little about the egg in Christian tradition. So do you want, Father Russ, I can't see you.
I'm here, yeah. Will we come back to the other elements also, or should I just speak about the egg right now? Hello?
Please. Yes, please. But whatever, maybe would you like to introduce it all in one time? That's fine.
Doesn't matter, whatever is more, whatever works better for the order of the being together.
Well, we did talk about the wine and the matzah and the egg, so I guess you should possibly catch up on them all from the Christian perspective.
Okay. Well, certainly, maybe I'll start with the bread and the wine, because the bread and the wine certainly are central symbols that
No,
Christians
I'm not done speaking. I have.
in celebrations of the Lord's Supper, or what we refer to as the Eucharist, the sacrifice of thanksgiving. Eucharist means thanksgiving in Greek. It's not really clear from the New Testament text whether Jesus's last meal with his disciples was in fact the Passover Seder or not. The texts disagree about that, but in a way that's not what is most important. What is important is that Jesus makes use of the elements of bread and wine and their association with the redemption from slavery in Egypt to interpret what would happen to him in the coming hours and days. So he first takes the bread, which, as Hanna mentioned before, in the Bible, in Deuteronomy, is referred to as the bread of affliction, and says, "This is my body, which is broken for you." And then he takes the wine, and there's also debate about, is this possibly the final cup in the Seder? Again, there's not a consensus about that, but he takes a cup of wine and says, "This is my blood of the covenant," echoing Moses' words also in the Bible and in Exodus, in which when he sprinkles the blood on the altar, says that this is the blood of the covenant which God establishes with you. It's interesting that in some later manuscripts of the New Testament, they add the word new and say, "This is my blood of the new covenant." But in fact, the older manuscripts simply say, "This is my blood of the covenant," in order to make it clear that both Jesus and the early church following him interprets his Passover from death to life as a further expression of God's faithfulness. I won't say a better expression, simply a further expression of God's faithfulness, of God's commitment to be with and for God's people in whatever their circumstances, whatever afflictions they may be experiencing. God seeks to lead his people in every age, in every circumstance, to a more abundant life. And when Christians break the bread and share the cup, they're also being reminded that we also are being challenged, invited to offer our lives as a gift for others. So that's something about the bread and the wine. About the egg, I mean, the egg is easily understood as a symbol referring to new life. So in Christian tradition, it becomes a symbol for resurrection. And there's an interesting folk tradition that I think may be of special interest to people who live here in Jerusalem and in the Holy Land, and to others who have visited here. It's a folk tradition that is especially found within the Orthodox churches, not so much in the churches of the West. But the story is told that sometime fairly soon after Jesus's passion and resurrection, Mary Magdalene was present at a banquet that was hosted by the Emperor Tiberius, who died around the year 37. So this is within a few years of these events in Jesus's life. And at a certain point in the banquet, she stands before the emperor holding a white egg and begins to speak with him about Jesus's resurrection. And the emperor, of course, is skeptical, and he says, well, that's about as likely as that egg that you're holding turning red right now. And it turns red, according to the tradition. So in the church of St. Mary Magdalene, the Russian church on the Mount of Olives, on the main fresco that is in the center part of the dome, when you enter the church and look up, it depicts that scene with Mary Magdalene standing before the Emperor of Rome and holding a red egg. So anyway, that's a bit about some of these symbols that Hanna has been sharing with that are so central in the Seder.
Hello? Can I ask a couple of questions?
I would like to ask for everyone who has questions, please either write them down, just let them do a round. We will do a round of questions at the end of the Seder.
I don't know how to write. I don't know how to write on this thing.
No, you don't need to write it down here. I'm just saying that keep it in mind, and we'll just finish the order, and then everyone who has questions can ask questions.
Okay.
Okay, just so we make it more organized, because we're quite a lot of people here. Okay. Thank you, Nate.
Thank
Hanna, do you want to go on?
Well, I just wonder, we need to hear from Fatima. When will that be?
Fatima, do you want to speak now?
Sure.
Do you prefer to speak later?
Whatever. Honestly, whatever you guys. I don't mind. I can go now if you want. Well, most of you guys, I think most of you guys here knows about Ramadan, but I thought I would just briefly explain to you, what is Ramadan. You mentioned earlier where the word Passover, Pesach, where it come from. It's our origin. For us, Ramadan, it comes from the word Ramad in Arabic, which mean like extremely heated sun, which is a big why, and then we called it Ramadan because it burns the sense of people with the, with the good deeds they do in this month. Similar to Passover, you guys, this week of Passover, the Holy Week, you guys thank God for everything you had for, because God saved them, the Jewish people from the Pharaoh and all the thing that happened there. You guys thank God for everything and appreciate, appreciate everything you have from food or the family you have with family, friends. Use that gathering around the Seder night or throughout the whole week. This is similar also, with the gathering of people and food. For us, we start fasting in Ramadan from dawn till sunset, and we start fasting from dawn till sunset, and at sunset we break our fast. It's called iftar. If some of you know this word or heard this word before, it's called, when we break our fast, and we break our fast together with the family or friends. Also, another thing that I wanted to mention about Ramadan is it's a way for people to repent to God. You can thank God for everything you have. You repent. This month is for a month of forgiveness. You repent to God. It's a month for you to get rid of your bad deeds and acquire a new one, good habits. Just like you guys, it's all about food. To me, at least, it's all about the food, because when you break your fast for the iftar, there's a lot of there's a feast usually with basically anyone who's fasting can come over and break their fast with you, with your family or friends. Also, something similar I thought between Passover and you guys mentioned also the sharing food. You share with whatever. Same thing for us. We usually host big feast or meals for whoever wants to come and break their fast. Usually also they do it at the end of Ramadan. They make they host a big meals where beside near the mosques, where anyone who wants to break their fast can just go. And also for you guys on the Seder, I don't know about Easter though, there's an additional prayer we do in Ramadan. I don't know if you guys have that, but I think for you guys during the Seder you have to read the book of Haggadah. That's what it's called, right? Am I right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So okay, so we have an additional prayer in Ramadan. It's called Tarawih. We connect more with God, closeness to God. So we also have that, and just the feeling you get, by thanking God or getting closer to God, repenting, getting rid of all your bad habits, making yourself better, self-discipline, all these things. It's all the main purpose of all these things, to be closer to God, to be a better person for yourself and for your family and for your community, to be better. And I think that this is what highlights Ramadan and Passover and Easter and all these holidays, for us to be better. I don't know if I should mention anything else. Okay.
That was great, Fatima. Thank you very much. Hanna, do you wanna wrap up on the Seder?
So, Carolina, how shall I wrap up? Shall I sing a song? Shall I introduce the maror? What would you like?
Whatever you prefer.
Well, I do want to introduce the maror. This is horseradish. Maror means bitter herbs. Thank you, Fatima. That was really interesting. Thank you. And what you said about being a better person. So one of the ideas of the Seder is to experience freedom on whatever level you might feel imprisoned, and it could be a psychological reason. Most, and in our times, usually is. If we're imprisoned by our fears, for example, we can try and go through that and have an experiential Seder of getting through a fear that we have in life. Or it can be a fun meal with family and friends. It has many, many different levels, as I'm sure Ramadan has as well. But I think that's a meeting point.
Spiritually and physically, there's a spiritual benefits and physical benefits, which I think goes both way. In Passover and Ramadan.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Passover is also in that category. And we eat bitter herbs. This is a major part of the Seder night, because the Israelites had a bitter experience in Egypt. And this is a horseradish. And if you eat it, it clears your sinuses like that. And it also makes you cry. I don't eat it because it's too strong. I eat lettuce. But both are okay, fine. You have fulfilled your obligation to eat bitter herbs with horseradish or with lettuce or any other bitter herb. So I thought, there are many songs in the Haggadah, and they're ubiquitous. Everybody of all communities sing them. Now, they may sing different tunes, but the words, I think, are they're sung by all communities, whether the communities come from Western Europe or Eastern Europe or the Sephardic communities. I thought I would share just one verse from one of them. I believe Carolina sent the words in one of the...
Wait, I'll share it now.
Oh, you could put it on the screen. That would be fantastic.
Can everyone see it? Can people see it?
Not yet. Yes.
Yeah, we can.
Yes. Do you see the Manishtana? Yeah.
I see the Manishtana. So this Manishtana is, why is this night different from all other nights? And it's customarily sung by the youngest child who is able to read. A young child sings this song, and they may have been practicing for a month before. Manishtana, how is this night different from all other nights? And it goes like this. Manishtana halayla hazeh mikol haleilot shebechol haleilot anu ochlim chametz umatzah halayla hazeh kulo matzah. All other nights we eat chametz, bread that is leavened, and matzah, which is unleavened. Tonight we only eat matzah. Why, says the child. And one more. Shebechol haleilot anu ochlim she'ah yerakot halayla hazeh maror. All other nights we eat all sorts of vegetables. Tonight we're only eating maror. Why? Now the truth of the matter is that we don't only eat maror. So that's a really odd question, which I never thought about before. But we actually, even on the Seder plate, we have a vegetable that is not bitter. But it's for a lot of the Seder is for the children to ask questions. Why are you doing this? And why is this different? And there is one custom to, the custom is that the children hide part of the matzah that you absolutely need in order to finish the Seder. And so you end up being blackmailed by a child, and the child, who's usually a beloved grandchild, says to you, if you don't give me such and such a present, I'm not going to give you the piece of matzah, which is called the afikoman, to eat. And it works very well. And the children know that they're going to get a present at the end of it, and they've hidden the matzah. And that actually brings us to the end of a huge section of the Seder night called the afikoman, which means dessert in Greek. And once you've eaten this afikoman, which is the middle matzah, you remember I did mention that there are 3 matzot at the beginning. So the middle matzah gets broken in half, and half of it is hidden, and the children try to find it and hide it away from you being the person running the Seder. I hope I'm not, I've drunk a whole glass of wine, so I'm sort of I'm very happy though. At the very end of the Seder, there are loads of songs, and oftentimes people are so tired by the time they get to it that they don't sing them. I am of the firm opinion that you should start with the songs at the very beginning and then work your way through it. But I'm going to, Carolina, do you want to put Echad Mi Yodea? So there's one song, and you just got to understand that these are songs that I've heard since I was 2 years old. I know them so well, and it like fills my heart with joy to be at a Seder and to sing it again each year, and to experience this Seder night from a cultural point of view. There's the culture, and there's the historical, and there's the spiritual, and there's the culinary, and it all mixes together into a very strong experience for the Jewish person. And some will be more culturally connected, and some will be culinarily, or that could be actually the same. And some, of course, are spiritually connected and religiously and historically. Now here you've got a wonderful song where we know we should have actually had the translation. It's a very long song. Who knows one? I know one. God is one. Who knows two? I know two. Two are the tablets of the law. Here we've got the very last verse, 13. Who knows 13? 13 are the traits of God. 12 are the tribes, 11 are the stars, 10 are the commandments, 9 are the moon cycles before the baby comes. 8 is the day when the circumcision is done. 7 days is Shabbat, 6 days and 6 parts of the Mishnah, 5 books of the Torah, 4 mothers, 3 fathers, 2 tablets, and 1 is God. Now I'm going to sing it in Hebrew. And, okay, you'll have to, I'm sorry that there's no really good translation here. Shlosha mi yodea, Shlosha sar, I know, ani yodea, Shlosha sar midaya, Shneim asar shiftaya, Chad asar kochvaya, Asara dibraya, Ti'ishachar cheleda, Shmona yemei mila, Shiva yemei shabbata, Shi'isha sifrei mishnah, Chamisha chumshei Torah, Arba imahot, Shlosha avot, Shnei luchot habrit. Now we come to God. Echad Elokeinu, 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 Shepa Shamayim Uva'aretz. So there's one more song which I think we'll leave for next year, when, please God, whoever can come to our home is more than welcome. We should be over this awful virus, and we should be able to celebrate Pesach and Ramadan and Easter, all of us together and in our own communities with our families, and together as an Interfaith Encounter Association group. And I look forward to hosting this in person next year. And thank you very much for inviting me to share the Seder plate and the matzah and the wine, etc. And I think now, Carolina, we should actually let people ask questions who have questions or have comments.
So thank you so much, Hanna, who organized this whole Seder. As you mentioned, she did it last year with people who were at her house, and we were wondering how we could do it in a meaningful way online. And I think it was absolutely wonderful for us to feel your connection to it, and also all the insights from Father Russell and from Fatima, who added this whole different dimension of how all of us can actually be connected through our traditions in different ways. Of course, different people could bring all kinds of different elements to it, and that's the beauty of it and how rich our traditions are, no matter where we come from. So we have finished the more specific order of the Seder, and again, I think our guests. And if we're going to take a few questions, so I believe let's do it in an orderly way. Maybe whoever wants to write down on the chat, it would be more organized. But I believe Nathaniel, had a question who he wanted to ask you. So I guess you can start.
Yeah. Can you put me on? Can you put me on?
You're on.
You're on.
Oh, okay. I have some questions for Father McDougall. First of all, it is interesting that in all of the Eastern Church countries, there is a prominent visual egg everywhere. They have egg design, egg things in the parks and in front of major buildings, and it's a very big symbol. However, we know that according to the traditions, the egg was not a part of the Seder at the time of Jesus. The Seder was strictly the lamb and the bitter herbs and the matzah. So I'm wondering how the egg. The egg is Mishnaic period, which we have in the Mishnah, where Judaism is really changing. Also, another question: I'm not understanding why the matzah would be the symbol of the body and not the lamb. And also in the description in the New Testament of the meal, there's no bitter herbs, and the bitter herbs was a major element of the Seder of that time. And so I'd like to have your comments.
Wait, Father Russell, do you want to answer?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I didn't realize my mic was still out. I don't really know when the egg became commonly used among Christians as a symbol for resurrection. I'm not really sure when that folk tradition about Mary Magdalene came to be commonly accepted among the Orthodox. It's not something that Western Christians share, so it may be a relatively late tradition in fact. Why Jesus chose to focus on the bread and the wine as the symbols to associate in some way with meaning for his own passion. Of course, he is referred to within the New Testament himself that he is the Lamb of God. But at the last meal that he shared with his disciples, he focuses on the bread which in the scriptures are referred to as the bread of affliction. And both the bread and the wine are associated with God's gift of redemption. So I suspect that's the reason why it's those two particular symbols that he focuses on as something that his followers can continue to share, in a sense, without the need to have a sacrifice, a bloody sacrifice, because he comes to be interpreted himself as the lamb that God provides.
Thank you, Father Russell. Does anyone else want to either ask a question or add a comment? Okay, so thank you everyone for coming. really over people from around the world who joined us today. Again, I apologize for the inconvenience at the beginning. We're always learning and trying to improve, but I think the most important is that remain strong and remain connected. One of the things, just to be very brief, I thought when we were organizing the Seder was that Passover is all about freedom, and right now we see that one of our main freedoms are being restricted, that we can't, maybe we don't feel free, maybe we have to stay in the home. So I think it's one of the things we may think about and reflect is what makes us feel free during this time. Even if we can't physically go out, what makes us feel as free people. So I think all of us have work to do on that question. So thank you again, Hanna, for the amazing organization, and Father Russell and Fatima who joined us today. And to everyone who wants to follow our activities of the Interfaith Encounter Association, either through Facebook or Twitter, we'd love to be in touch with everyone. We're always love having new members and receiving new ideas, and especially now in a time that we can't do encounters, face-to-face encounters, then anyone who has other ideas of how we can keep building bridges between communities, we love to hear from you. So thank you, everyone, and may we all have a happy Passover, Chag Sameach, and happy Easter, which is just happened, and Ramadan Karim in about 2 weeks that we're going to have. We're probably going to have an online iftar as well, hopefully, inshallah. So I guess we see everyone soon, and hopefully we won't have problems next time. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach, everyone.
Bye-bye.